Hello everyone, today we continue with Tiểu San and Hai's story, setting aside the sadness about Tiểu San's difficulty in having children. Today the two of them are together, sharing a truly happy birthday. That morning, as the city slowly eased into its familiar rhythm, the first rays of sunlight slipped through the window, casting soft streaks of light across the work desk. Hai picked up his phone out of habit, but this time he paused a little longer when he saw a message appear on the screen. Tiểu San's birthday wishes were not elaborate or showy, just sincere, heartfelt words, simple and close, yet they were enough to warm his heart. Each line seemed to carry her familiar presence, gentle and deep, and a smile unconsciously spread across his face. It had been a long time, ever since returning home, since Hai had felt his birthday truly anticipated and remembered in such a complete way. In that brief moment, time seemed to slow down. The usual worries and work pressures temporarily faded, giving way to a rare sense of peace. This year's birthday didn't need lavish parties or noisy congratulations. Just knowing that someone had been thinking of him since early morning was enough for the day to begin with a quiet, tender joy. When Hai stepped into his office, he was surprised once again. Bouquets of flowers from business partners arrived one after another, filling a corner of the room. Their fragrance blended with the familiar office air, creating a different atmosphere. It wasn't the value of the flowers that moved him, but the feeling of being appreciated and remembered amid the busyness of work. Each time he picked up the phone to send a thank you message, Hai felt more clearly the invisible connections between himself and those around him. Amid the steady ringing of phones and stacks of documents, he suddenly realized that happiness doesn't always come from grand things. It often begins with small, ordinary details like these. He stood quietly for a moment, looking around the familiar room. Everything was the same: the desks, the computer, the numbers and plans waiting to be handled. But his emotions had changed. Something inside felt softer, lighter, as if he had just been given a new source of energy to carry him through the long day ahead. Just then the office door opened slightly. His mother stepped in, her familiar presence and gentle eyes pulling Hai out of his thoughts. Her voice was soft as she asked a few questions about work before shifting the conversation to buying flowers for Tet. Mother and son chatted about the flower market near the office, about pots of chrysanthemums and peach blossoms already being displayed, about the year-end atmosphere slowly taking shape. These seemingly simple conversations carried the warmth of family, making the room feel less cold, less rigid than the lifeless numbers of everyday work. His mother's presence helped Hai feel more grounded. In the midst of a busy life, such brief conversations became a quiet emotional anchor, one he didn't always notice. He listened as she spoke, nodding now and then, smiling occasionally, a sense of closeness rising gently within him. This birthday, besides Tiểu San's love, also held the quiet care of family, of those who always stood behind him, watching over him in their own way. When his mother left the room, Hai remained seated alone, looking at the fresh bouquets of flowers. The birthday day was still long ahead, but from the very morning, he could clearly feel that this would be a different kind of day. A day that not only marked another year added to his life, but also offered a pause for reflection, for cherishing what he had, and for believing that after the sorrows that had passed, moments of peace like this were exactly what made him want to hold on and keep moving forward. Knowing that his mother had plans that evening to visit someone who was ill, Hai followed her suggestion and took the initiative to call Tiểu San. The call wasn't long, just a few brief minutes amid each of their busy routines, but it was enough for both of them to clearly feel a familiar sense of closeness. Through each other's voices, the invisible distances between them seemed to narrow. Tiểu San said she was at home, and that Ivy was still at school and hadn't returned yet. The way she spoke was calm and unhurried, as if everything was unfolding at its natural pace. After a few simple, caring questions, they agreed to have lunch together. It wouldn't be a crowded or formal celebration, just a meal that felt right for a birthday, perfectly suited to how both of them felt at that moment. When the time came, the lunch took place in a gentle, cozy atmosphere. The space wasn't noisy, nor was it elaborately decorated, yet it carried a strong sense of warmth and intimacy. Tieu San arrived with her familiar presence, her expression calm but filled with sincere care. She brought along a very special gift, simple, yet meaningful. It wasn't a birthday cake with sparkling candles, but a birthday cake, made from a watermelon, carefully and neatly carved, accompanied by a bouquet of flowers she had personally chosen and wrapped. Everything was modest and unpretentious, yet it made the moment more memorable than ever. As Tieu San placed the gift in front of Hai, he couldn't hide his emotion. In that instant he realized that what truly touched him wasn't the form or material value, but the thoughtfulness she had put into it. Every small detail showed how much she had considered everything, choosing the most fitting way to bring him joy without placing pressure on anyone. Hai's gaze lingered on the skillfully carved watermelon, then shifted to the simple yet elegant bouquet. His emotions settled, gentle but deep. His mother sat beside them, quietly observing. The look she gave Tieu San needed no words. Just a satisfied smile was enough to convey her trust and affection. She saw in the young woman a quiet thoughtfulness and sincerity reflected in the smallest gestures. Without trying to impress, Tieu San left a lasting impression through her refined manners and her just right attentiveness, neither showy nor careless. The meal therefore felt even warmer, as if an unspoken yet strong bond already existed among them. After lunch they took a few photos together as keepsakes. There was no need for elaborate poses, just natural moments, soft smiles, and familiar glances meeting one another. Their conversation then continued at an unhurried pace. They talked about Ivy, making plans to take her out for a trip in the near future. They spoke about buying more flowers to decorate the house, choosing pots that would suit the year-end atmosphere. The topics revolved around everyday life, nothing grand, yet carrying a sense of stability and reassurance. Gradually, the conversation turned to the upcoming Tet holiday. No one went into detailed plans, just a few simple ideas, enough to imagine a time of togetherness drawing near. In that space there was no rush, no pressure to appear happy, only a sense of peace spreading naturally. Each moment passed slowly, leaving behind a pleasant feeling, as if everything was gradually returning to where it belonged. Lunch ended not with excitement, but with a sense of completeness. The feeling of family lingered, soft and warm. It was a birthday without noise or extravagance, yet filled with meaning. In that simplicity, both Hai and Tieu San clearly felt that sometimes happiness doesn't lie in grand things, but in ordinary moments shared with sincerity and understanding. As the candles were lit, their small flickering flames reflected in Hai's eyes. He took a slow, deep breath and gently closed his eyes. In that moment, all the sounds around him seemed to slow down, leaving behind a private stillness, quiet enough for him to truly listen to himself. With sincerity, Hai spoke his wishes aloud, without haste or calculation. He wished that he could marry Tieu San, wished for a complete family, wished for children, and above all wished that the people he loved would always be healthy, safe, and happy. His wishes were not carefully polished or grand, but they came from the most genuine place in his heart. They were not distant dreams, but deeply human desires, shaped by everything he had been through. Standing across from him, Tieu San watched quietly. As she heard each of his words, her heart tightened, not with pain but with emotion. She didn't interrupt or show confusion. She simply remained silent, allowing the feelings to spread within her. Tieu San understood very clearly that within those simple wishes, her presence was naturally there, without needing to be named. That realization made her feel both warm and moved. What Hai wished for were also the things she had once thought about, once hoped for, even during times when she hadn't dared to say them out loud. In that brief moment, Tieu San felt the invisible bond between them, a quiet harmony that needed no explanation. When Hai opened his eyes, the candles were still burning steadily, their light casting a calm yet thoughtful expression across his face. No one said anything more, but both of them understood that those wishes were not meant only for a birthday. They were reminders of what truly mattered in their hearts. There was no need to turn them into promises right then. Just knowing they existed, quietly yet persistently, was already enough to bring a sense of reassurance. The birthday ended with a trip to pick up Ivy. When the three of them sat together in the car, the atmosphere changed completely. Ivy chatted excitedly about her day at school, small stories but full of energy. Tieu San listened attentively, smiling from time to time, while Hai focused on the road, glancing at them through the rearview mirror, clearly feeling the presence of both of them behind him. The year-end streets were busier than usual, lines of cars stretching on, streetlights beginning to glow, creating the familiar scene of days leading up to Tet. They shared a simple meal together. Not a long one, but enough to make Ivy happy. Afterward, they took her to an amusement area. The space buzzed with laughter and voices, mixed with the familiar sounds of children's games. Ivy ran around under the colorful lights, her clear laughter ringing out naturally and spreading through the crowd. Amid the year-end bustle, that laughter became a small but distinct point of light, softening the atmosphere around them. Hai and Tieu San stood side by side, watching Ivy's every step. They didn't need to exchange many glances, yet both felt a rare sense of peace within. The atmosphere of Tet was drawing closer, evident in every street, every light, every hurried face still carrying a sense of anticipation. In that setting, the moment they stood together, watching Ivy play and laugh, became quietly special. There was nothing dramatic, no striking highlight, just their presence together on an ordinary evening. Yet it was precisely that ordinariness that brought a feeling of completeness. Amid all the busyness of life, the unspoken worries and the long road still ahead, that moment reminded them that happiness doesn't lie in grand or distant things. Happiness exists in being together, in simple meals, in evenings spent taking a child out to play, in sincere wishes spoken from the heart. These were dreams that didn't need to come true in a hurry. Just being shared under the same roof was already enough to become the strength that helped them keep moving forward, slowly but steadily, within the endless flow of life. Hai took Tieu San and Ivy out for dinner on a year-end evening filled with the lively atmosphere so characteristic of the days leading up to Tet. The city felt different from usual, crowded streets, brighter lights, and familiar festive melodies echoing here and there. They chose a simple restaurant, not too elaborate, but quiet enough for the three of them to sit together, eat and talk. Ivy excitedly shared what she was looking forward to in the days ahead: Tet, presents, and the joy of having time off from school to stay home with her mother. Tieu San listened with gentle eyes, while Hai occasionally joined in, naturally and warmly, as if he had long been used to that role. The meal unfolded slowly, with no one in a hurry. Their conversations revolved around everyday life, small things that nonetheless made the atmosphere feel warm. At times, Tieu San reached over to straighten Ivy's clothes, while Hai made sure to pick extra food for her. All of these were simple, ordinary gestures, yet together they created the sense of a small family gradually taking shape, peaceful and full of love. Outside, traffic continued to flow and car horns sounded from time to time, but within that space, everything seemed to slow down, allowing them to truly feel one another's presence. After dinner, Hai took Ivy to a nearby amusement area. The place was brightly lit and crowded with children and parents, laughter blending with the sounds of the rides to create a lively year-end scene. The moment Ivy stepped inside, she couldn't hide her excitement and ran straight toward her favorite games. Hai and Tieu San stood outside, watching her every move. Their eyes never left Ivy, and they exchanged gentle smiles. Without needing many words, just standing side by side like that was enough to bring a sense of calm to their hearts. Ivy's laughter rang out, clear and full of energy. Amid the noisy streets of the year-end season, that laughter became a very personal point of connection, causing both Hai and Tieu San to slow their thoughts. They realized that moments like these, ordinary evenings, were exactly what people longed to hold on to. There was no need for anything grand. Simply sharing such simple moments together was enough to feel at peace. The presence of Tet was unmistakable all around them. In the decorative lights, in the roadside stalls selling holiday goods, in the excited faces of children and the busyness of adults. All of it blended together, creating a feeling that was both hectic and warm. Hai stood there watching Ivy play, seeing Tieu San quietly by his side, and felt a hard-to-name emotion rise within him. It wasn't overwhelming joy nor loud excitement, but a sense of fullness, as if he were standing before something very real, very close. Tieu San felt that same sense of peace. She looked at her child, at Hai, then around her, noticing every small detail of the year-end evening. She didn't think too far ahead or rush to name the future. She simply let the present moment flow naturally. For her, being there at that moment with the two most important people in her life was already something to cherish. The video closes with the image of the three of them standing together under the lights of the amusement area. Ivy smiling brightly, Tieu San gentle and Hai quiet yet warm. A small family appears in a very simple way, without extravagance, but enough for viewers to feel the love that is present. It feels like a quiet sign of happy plans ahead. As Tet draws near, bringing with it hope for peaceful and joyful days of togetherness. Be sure to watch the upcoming videos on our channel to continue following this story. And don't forget to leave a comment wishing Hai a happy birthday.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Nay mình đang làm video nha mọi người ơi. Mình làm video Tiểu San. Hôm nay thì là sinh nhật của Hải, là mình cũng chưa biết làm thumbnail kiểu gì cho nó hợp lý. Mình ấy nhất là cái chỗ ảnh thumbnail mọi người. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều. Tạm biệt mọi người. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người vào video sau nhé. Chúc mọi người một ngày vui vẻ.